Have you ever felt the weight of a secret? A secret so heavy it changes how the world sees you, and even how you see yourself. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most powerful stories in American literature. Nathaniel Hawthorne as The Scarlet Letter. This isn't just some old book from your high school reading list. It's a timeless exploration of sin, guilt, and the long, hard road to redemption. Our story begins in 17th century Puritan Boston, a place where rules are rigid and public shame is a powerful weapon. We meet our protagonist, Hester Prynne, as she's being led out of prison, clutching a baby and wearing a mark of disgrace on her chest. A beautifully embroidered, yet horrifying, Scarlet Letter AA for adulteress. The townspeople stare, they whisper, they judge. Hester has had a child out of wedlock, and for that, she is an outcast. The magistrates demand to know the father's name, but Hester refuses. She will bear her punishment alone. This act of defiance is our first glimpse into her incredible strength. She's not just a sinner. She's a woman of immense fortitude, protecting the man she loves from the same fate. Now, let's introduce the other key players in this drama. As Hester stands on the scaffold of shame, two men watch from the crowd. One is her estranged husband, a man much older than her, who has been missing for years. He arrives just in time to see his wife's public humiliation. Taking on the name Roger Chillingworth, he becomes obsessed with a single, dark purpose: to uncover Hester's secret lover and exact his revenge. He's a man consumed by vengeance, a chilling, almost demonic figure whose quest for retribution will poison his own soul. The other man watching is the town's beloved minister, Reverend Arthur Demiste. He's young, eloquent, and seen as a pillar of piety. But as he publicly urges Hester to name her partner in sin, his hand instinctively clutches his own chest. Why? Because Dimmesdale is the father. He is the man Hester is protecting. While Hester wears her sin openly on her chest, Dimmesdale hides his in the dark recesses of his heart. This internal conflict becomes the central torment of the novel. He preaches about confession and truth from the pulpit, while living a devastating lie. The guilt eats away at him, manifesting as a mysterious illness that weakens his body and tortures his mind. This sets up our central triangle: Hester, the public sinner; Dimmesdale, the secret sinner; and Chillingworth, the vengeful observer. It's a pressure cooker of emotions just waiting to explode. Years pass. Hester and her daughter, Pearl, live on the outskirts of town. Pearl is a fascinating character in her own right, wild, intelligent, and almost otherworldly. She's a living, breathing symbol of her mother's sin, a constant reminder of the Scarlet Letter. She endlessly questions her mother about the AA, and her innocent but piercing questions often cut straight to the heart of the hypocrisy surrounding them. Despite the scorn she faces, Hester becomes a skilled needleworker, and her artistry is paradoxically sought after by the very community that shuns her. She even does charity work, and over time the meaning of the Scarlet A begins to shift in the public's eye. For some, it no longer stands for adulteress, but for Abel or angel. Hester, through her quiet dignity and good works, begins to redefine her own symbol of shame. Meanwhile, Dimmesdale is wasting away. The guilt is literally killing him. Chillingworth, who has become Dimmesdale's personal physician, suspects the truth and latches onto the minister like a leech, psychologically tormenting him under the guise of providing medical care. Chillingworth's revenge isn't about public exposure. It's a slow, cruel, and personal destruction of Dimmesdale's soul. The minister in his agony resorts to self-punishment, fasting, holding vigils, and even whipping himself in private. He's trapped in a living hell, yearning for confession, but terrified of the consequences. One night, driven by his torment, Dimmesdale climbs the same scaffold where Hester was shamed 7 years earlier. He stands there in the darkness, hoping for some form of release. In a twist of fate, Hester and Pearl, returning from a deathbed visit, find him there. For a moment, the three of them stand together, a secret family united under the stars as a meteor streaks across the sky, tracing what looks like the letter A. This scene is a turning point. It's a brief, stolen moment of truth in a world of lies. After this encounter, Hester realizes the destructive influence Chillingworth has on Dimmesdale. She can no longer stand by and watch the man she loves be destroyed. She arranges a secret meeting with Dimmesdale in the forest, a place of nature and freedom, far from the judging eyes of the town. There, she finally reveals Chillingworth's true identity. More importantly, she tries to give him hope. She unpins the Scarlet Letter from her chest and lets down her hair. And for a brief, beautiful moment, we see the woman she could have been, passionate and free. They make a desperate plan to escape, to sail away to Europe, and start a new life together as a family. For the first time in years, Dimmesdale feels a flicker of hope, a chance at freedom from his guilt. But can you ever truly escape your past? The climax of the story arrives on Election Day, a major Puritan holiday. Dimmesdale has just delivered the most powerful sermon of his life, a speech filled with prophecy and spiritual fervor. As the procession moves from the church, he seems to be at the peak of his glory. But then, he sees Hester and Pearl standing near the scaffold. In a sudden, dramatic turn, he calls them to him. He stumbles up the steps of the scaffold, supported by Hester. And finally, he does what he should have done 7 years ago. In front of the entire town, he confesses his sin. He tears open his shirt to reveal, well, Hawthorne leaves it ambiguous. Some say they saw a scarlet letter A carved into his very flesh. Others saw nothing. But what matters is the act itself. With his sin finally brought into the light, Dimmesdale finds a moment of peace. He kisses Pearl, who cries for the first time like a normal child, breaking the spell that has hung over her. Then, his strength gone, he collapses and dies in Hester's arms. Chillingworth, his purpose for living his revenge now gone, withers away and dies within a year, leaving his fortune to Pearl. So, what happens to Hester? She and Pearl disappear, presumably to Europe. But many years later, Hester returns to her small cottage in Boston. She voluntarily puts the Scarlet Letter back on. Why? Because that mark, once a symbol of shame, has become a part of her identity. She has found a form of redemption not by running away, but by facing her past and integrating it into who she is. Women now come to her not for judgment, but for comfort and counsel, seeking advice for their own sorrows. She becomes a figure of wisdom and strength. Whence it is she is buried near Dimmesdale, sharing a single tombstone marked with a simple, powerful symbol. On a field, sable, the letter A. Ghouls. The Scarlet Letter is a masterpiece because it asks profound questions that are still relevant today. What is sin? Who has the right to judge? Is public shame more or less damaging than private guilt? And how do we find redemption? Is it through punishment or through acceptance and forgiveness? Hawthorne doesn't give us easy answers. Instead, he gives us Hester Prynne, one of literature's most enduring heroines. A woman who takes a symbol of shame and transforms it into a symbol of strength, survival, and a complex, hard-won grace. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the heart of Puritan New England. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more literary analyses, and let me know in the comments what book you'd like me to explore next. See you in the next video.